So the first topic I'm going to talk about is that it looks like Snow White is going to debut between 45 and 48 for its opening this weekend in the US. I know internationally it sounds like it's going to at least make 100 overall for the weekend. And look, this is not a good opening for this movie because this movie costs between 250 and 260 something, which is a really high budget for this movie. I know this movie went through multiple reshoots. I believe it got delayed a little, and it just this isn't a good opening with this movie. Now I'm not surprised if this movie opens between 45 and 48. I know the movie just premiered last night, but the reason I'm not surprised is because the trailers haven't been good for this movie, and as much as the Snow White is a classic movie and a lot of people love that it was an animated movie, I don't think it has like the pop culture generations appeal like the Disney animated movies like Lion King or Beauty and the Beast or Aladdin, where I feel like when you're announcing going to remake those movies, people are more. I feel like it just those have more of a generation appeal to them, where people remember those movies more. Like the Snow White movie is a very early animated movie, and look, for me personally, I don't have any interest in seeing the Snow White live action movie. It has nothing to do with what the actress said. It's just one of those things where the trailers didn't appeal to me. I don't really care much for the original animated movie. I can understand why people love animated classic for a lot of people, but it's one of those movies that I never found it to be all that good, and I do feel like the original Snow White animated movie is dated. Again, it's a movie that just for me personally, I watched once, didn't really care much for, but totally understand why people love that movie. But my point is, like, I don't think it has that type of like generational appeal like those movies like Aladdin, A Lion King, and Beauty and the Beast, like I said. And also the controversy. There's been so much controversy with this movie, with what the main actress said, which was stupid what she said about the original animated movie. Because even as somebody who doesn't care much for the original animated movie, she sort of phrased her words a lot better. And then the biggest thing is that the word of mouth coming out of last night when it where it premiered in theaters is not good. This movie has like a 44% on Rotten Tomatoes with critics, which means critics are not really liking this movie. And now we'll say this: it does have a high audience score, like not a real high one, but it has a 71, like 71% on audience score. So audience seem to be liking this movie more than critics. They're not loving it, but they seem to be enjoying it. So like I'm not surprised this movie is gonna have a low debut. I will say this: the box office is struggling this year though because Captain America: Brave New World had a solid opening, and that movie just dropped off in the second week where it took like a 68-69% drop off. There's definitely gonna be some big movies this year that are gonna open big, but right now the box office is definitely not having a great start to the year. And I don't think Snow White is going to save the box office so far this year. The next topic I want to talk about is that Universal lost the rights to the Jason Bourne movies. And it sounds like right now the rights are being shopped around to Skydance, Apple, and Netflix. The report also says that Universal could get the rights back. And look, I'm somebody that loves the Jason Bourne franchise. Like those first three movies, one of my favorite spy trilogies. The one with Jeremy Renner, the fourth one I thought was okay. The fifth one when Matt Damon came back called Jason Bourne, I thought that was okay, but they were both just forgettable to me personally, and nowhere near as great as that original trilogy is. And I know like there was reports going around a while ago before they lost rights that there was sound like Matt Damon was going to be coming back to do another Jason Bourne movie. And I know, like from what I heard, it sounds like he was talking to a director. Now it sounds like from this report, if Universal loses the rights and Netflix, Apple, or I believe Skydance, if they get it, then it sounds like it's going to be a reboot. Which it was sucky to Universal lost the rights. Like I hope they get the rights back. But I do think you need to reboot the franchise in the sense that as much as I love the Jason Bourne character, the fifth one when he came back was just very okay, and I do think you need to tell a new story with new characters. So, I'm definitely curious who's going to get the rights. Like, I don't think Netflix is really. The thing I worry about if Netflix gets the Jason Bourne rights is that they're a streaming service. Same with Apple TV, and they're a streaming service. And to me, Bourne movies should be seen in theaters. Like I know Netflix has done like limited releases with some movies, but it's not like they do like full theoretical ones. And also Netflix's track record is more missed than hit with the quality of the streaming movies. Like I would prefer Universal gets the rights back and keeps the franchise. But I'm definitely curious to see who ends up getting the rights to Jason Bourne and whether it's going to be a reboot or if like they're going to do another movie with Matt Damon. I'm definitely curious like where the franchise is going to go depending on who gets the rights right now. The next topic I want to talk about is that Coco 2 has been announced for 2029. It was the first Coco movie I love. It's a great animated movie. I know that movie, I believe, made a lot of money. And it got great reviews. And the only thing that sucks about this is that the sequel is going to be coming out in 2029, which really sucks. You have to wait this long for that movie. Like, it sucks that all of us fans have to wait until 2029 to see a sequel because first one is such a great animated movie. Like, I highly recommend Coco if you haven't seen that movie. Like, it sucks the waiting, but I also, as a movie fan, I'm like, you know what? Hey, if they put out a good to great movie, that's all I care about. Like the waiting part, like I wish it would come out sooner. I don't have to wait until 2029. But at the same time, as long as I get a good to great movie, that's all I care about. So I'm definitely excited to hear that they're going to do a sequel to Coco. Like to me a fantastic animated movie and it deserves a sequel. The next topic I want to talk about is that one of the actors from the Superman James Gunn movies playing one of the DC superheroes. He said, and this was in an interview, that the James Gunn Superman movie is going to be special and uplifting. And the reason I want to talk about it is because I love what he said there about the movie being special and uplifting. Because as someone who's, to me, my favorite character is Superman. This is my most anticipated movie of the year, and like this is one of the reasons why I'm so excited for this movie. It's just everything they've said about this movie, everything I've seen from that trailer, which is one of the things I love about the trailer that I watched, was that it gave you a sense of wonder, it gave you a sense of just hope. And that is something I feel like that has lacked in the Superman movies since Superman 2. Like I love those first two original Superman movies. Superman Returns Man of Steel, when it comes to the modern interpretations of the character in film, I'm not talking about television stuff, I'm just talking about in film. I just felt like Man of Steel and Superman Returns both missed the core aspect of that character. Because, look, I have no problem with different interpretations of Superman. I've talked about this on Facebook, on my Facebook posts. I've talked about this in past videos that, look, I love Smallville. I love my events of Superman, the current anime series. I love Superman Lois was just in it. They're all different interpretations of the character. But when I say like when I say like, okay, I'm excited for this because this, from what it sounds like, and from the trailer, that this is gonna get back to the essence, the core, is what I mean is like the thing that defines the character, the thing that makes Superman stand out. And even with all those different television interpretations, I think they've done better with the character in TV in the modern than they've done in films. Is that even though they're all different interpretations, they all have a sense of hope, a sense of uplifting, a sense of that, yes, he has struggles, Clark. He's a serious character, but there's also a sense of joy and fun with the character. There's a sense of this character makes you strive to be a better person. He makes you feel inspirational. Like the reason why he had why his death in comics back then was the biggest, in my opinion, still biggest death in comics for a comic character, because all the characters in the comics, the heroes, the whole world, like you felt like you lost a friend or somebody, or like a parent or something like that, where this was a character that just made you feel hopeful, that made you feel inspirational. And to me, that has lacked in Man of Steel and Superman Returns. No offense to Bryan Singer and Zack Snyder, who directed those two movies, but both modern Superman movies, Superman Returns and Man of Steel, I feel like they both, like Brandon I thought it was used much better in the CW crossover, where I felt like he actually got to show some personality. I just feel like with like Zack Snyder's cynical approach and like this deep, like this dark depressing, deep like tone that he had from Man of Steel, the Zack Snyder movie, and the kind of and even with Superman Returns, Superman was just kind of depressed in that movie, and Bryan Singer's version too, that it just felt like both movies missed the point of the character. And I just felt like this isn't Henry Cavill's fault or Brandon Ross' fault, but I felt like in both of the movies, they won't give him the best writing for their Superman. It just felt like they lacked personality, their characters. And just it feels like when I look back on why I feel like Christopher Reeve is one of the best actors in the world, and why to me his interpretation has stood the test of time. Why I love those first two original Superman movies. Why he's the best Superman in film is because he makes you feel like this is a real person that you can connect with. He makes you feel like, okay, you know what? There's hope for them all. That he makes there's a sense of joy of him being Superman in those movies. That even though he has his struggles, like I've said multiple times with examples on Facebook, that even though you have moments like in the beginning of the original Superman movie where you see him as a teenager like, kicking the football off the field, and those kids picking on him and showing off his powers, racing back to his house in front of the mailbox, and those kids from the school drive by, and he's like showing off the fact that he got back to his house so quick. Like you see him that he struggles like everybody else. Like the moment when he screams out loud at the end of the original movie, and Jor-El tells him, "Don't go back. You can't go back and spin. Tell him not to spin the world back. Save Lois." In those movies, he feels human though, and to me, when I think of some of my favorite interpretations of Superman, it's the interpretations that make you that where he has tons of personality. He's not serious. He's not just serious all the time. He has a sense of fun and joy with the character. There's a reason why Batman in the comics respects Superman is because they're so opposite of each other. There's a reason why in the comics all the heroes look up to Superman. It's because he represents what we could be. And I feel like when you come out of a Superman movie, you should feel that. You should feel like, okay, you know what? There's hope for them all. And you should feel like this is a character that has tons of personality. And I feel like why Christopher Reeve is the best in those so far in film is because he brought personality, he brought tons of depth to the character. Where it was him having Clark Kent be different from his Superman, two different personalities. But there was a sense of personality to his character, and I just felt like I haven't felt that in the modern Superman movies. Like I haven't really felt like I didn't feel in Man of Steel or Superman Returns that this was an uplifting Superman. That this was a Superman that made me go like, you know what? This is a Superman that feels human. This is a Superman that, yes, he has his struggles, but at the same time, you can still have some fun with the character. You can still get a sense of joy and wonder with the character. So I love hearing this actor saying this. And this should be special because he is the granddaddy of all superheroes. He was the first superhero. Like without him, we wouldn't have all those superheroes in DC and Marvel comics. He was the granddaddy of superheroes. And to me, one reason I'm excited is because James Gunn, I think he's one of the best directors. Like to me, he's great at really putting a lot of heart into his movies and giving his characters tons of personality. Like he made me care about a talking raccoon, a talking tree, and the Guardians of the Galaxy was for characters that were not A-list characters in the comics. You go back to his Suicide Squad movie. That movie had tons of heart. Like his characters have tons of personalities. He made me care about a character called Polka Dot Man. This was a character wasn't really that familiar with in DC Comics. Yet I felt for that character. He had personality. And even movie like Slither was one of my favorite horror movies. I think that's a great movie. And one of the things I love about that movie is that the characters have personality in that movie. So everything I'm hearing about this James Gunn Superman movie, I know I'm going on a long rant here, but I love the character, and it just feels like every time I see that trailer that we saw and everything they're saying, it just all sounds like to me, this is somebody that where you're doing a different interpretation of Superman, but still gets the core aspect, the core essence that makes Superman stand out amongst other heroes. So the next topic I'm going to talk about is the Coyote versus Acme movie. So that movie was originally going to be shoved for a task write-off, and it sounds like Castle Entertainment is that now this isn't confirmed, but there's a possibility this movie could be saved. So the possibility right now is that Casper Entertainment. So Warner Brothers is like selling the distribution rights, and it sounds like Casper Entertainment could land the rights, and they're selling it for 50 million, the like price tag wise. And I hope this ends up happening. I hope this movie gets saved because when I heard this movie was finished, it was done. And I always feel bad when a movie that's completely finished gets shoved as a task write off, or they just like shove the movie to never be seen. So, look, I really hope this movie gets saved. I hope it does because, you know, I just don't really. I feel bad for the people that worked on that movie. And you had a completely finished movie and nobody would have to see it. So I'm hoping this movie gets saved. And from what I heard, people who saw the movie sounds like it was a really fun to great movie. And I just like I said, I'm not really a fan of when like a studio just shoves a movie that's being completely finished. I only like if a movie hasn't started filming, I only get disappointed if it hasn't been shoved because but like even if a movie's like only halfway finished, I don't get disappointed either. But if a movie's just completely finished and done, to me it sucks when a movie is just completely done and finished and he gets shoved. So I hope this movie gets saved. I think this is great news if this ends up being saved, Coyote versus Acme. And I think it's great news for people who had an interest or wanted to see this movie released in theaters. Which I hope it does get released in theaters. I hope I hope it gets saved to be released in theaters. The next topic I'm talking about is that a new trailer for Toxic Avenger came out, which was a movie that was done in 2023, I believe, and it got shoved. And it was announced recently that it's going to be coming out this year. I think there is a date for it, but I'm not sure I can't remember what the date is. I could be off now. Like, I'm not sure if there is a date for it yet or not, but they put out a trailer for Toxic Avenger. Let me say this. I've never seen the original Toxic Avenger. Maybe I'll watch that before the new one comes out this year. I just know it was a very low budget movie, and it was like a violent, darker superhero movie. But otherwise, I don't really know. Like I said, I've never seen the original. So, but as someone who's never seen the original, I thought overall this was a fun trailer. I can definitely tell it's going for an ultra violent superhero tone and style, which I think that could be actually really fun because we don't see too many ultra violent superhero movies. Like I wasn't blown away by this trailer, but I also thought that looks like it could be entertaining and fun. So I would be interested to check this out. Like it's not a movie like this Toxic Man movie isn't a movie this year that's going to be on like one of my most anticipated lists this year. But I'm glad to see that this movie's going to get released in theaters this year and that it was saved. So I think overall trailer wise, I thought overall this was a fun trailer. Like it has me interested, not overly hyped, but interested to check out this Toxic Avenger movie. So that's all the movie topics today. Until next time, movie fans.